Because I want I need it. Well, the reason they listed the specific areas that really. I still get confused by it as well sometimes. It's going to be more state.
When's that start?
They might need somebody up here like that. Laugh or cry.
Yes. We got to do that live. No, I agree. Like thousands.
I knew it was open up private water lines.
Yeah.
Yeah, that could be second floor. I know. Do we really?
No.
Yeah, just wondering. I was gonna say. Is that?
Comes right here.
Yeah.
It is 6 o'clock. The agenda for the regular meeting of council of the city of Clarksburg to be held Thursday, February 16th, 2023 at the Clarksburg Municipal Building, Council Chambers, 222 West Main Street, Clarksburg, West Virginia, at 6 p.m.
Will Hyman.
Here.
Gary Key.
Here.
Jim Malfajo.
Here.
Jerry Riffle.
Here.
Wayne Worth.
Here.
Vice Mayor Junkins.
Here.
Mayor Marino.
Here.
This evening, we have our prayer and pledge by Councilmember Hyman.
Bow our heads, please. God of peace, we invite you to preside over this meeting. Even if we have different opinions, give us the unity of spirit. Help us to each listen politely as others share their points of view. Help us to work as a unified team in combining ideas for a great outcome. Help us to work as a whole as we discuss the affairs of our city and its citizens. May we have a spirit of camaraderie in this room and work together for the betterment of Clarksburg. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Petitions, communications, and public hearings.
We have several signed up to speak tonight, so I would appreciate if we could just hold to 5 minutes. We do want to hear what everyone has to say, so kind of condense your comments down to 5 minutes, please.
Daniel Ferris, 235 East Main Street, wishes to address council concerning abandoned house and zoning.
Thank you, members of council, for this opportunity to speak to you. 4 blocks from here, we have a very distinguished area of Clarksburg, Quality Hill. And initially, there were 33 homes to be included in that, and now that number's been reduced, but those homes are of pristine origin. There's been an ongoing discussion here for several years now. 4 years ago, that property was condemned. For the last 10 years, it's been vacant and should have been condemned. I have talked to members of zoning, I've talked to members of council, I've talked to the city manager, I've talked to numerous people. I had, and Lily has, Mrs. Shunkins has, pictures on the phone. Excuse me. She's going to pass these pictures around on the phone. We could not get that TV to work with my phone.
Sorry
So
about
bear
that.
with me on that. I have some concerns, and I want to make a matter of record these concerns because over the past 6 years, all I have gotten is we're going to look into it. And those concerns are this. Dr. Lopez and Mrs. Lopez bought a home there, and she wanted to have a business there selling cookies. Could not be approved because of the zoning. Fair ruling. There is a place called Village Caring, put a sign in the front yard. That was against regs. That sign had to be taken down and placed on the house. The problem I have is everyone in this area is following all of the rules except one landowner, the one whose house is condemned. There are broken windows around that house, 2 of which are over my sidewalk. Now, I have on numerous occasions informed council of this. I'm not a little up here crying and saying, gee, you gotta come fix my window. The whole house is ready to fall in. I don't understand why a person who wanted to open a bakery shop or a person who had a sign in their front yard, zoning came right out and said, no, you can't do that. But yet, there's garbage that's this deep in the front yard of Main Street on that home. The city of Clarksburg has paid or had to pay their employees for the last 4 years to cut the grass twice a year because it gets this high. Now, I would like to know why that particular landlord is not being held accountable for his actions. It's condemned property. The state code 1618-6 has already been passed. You folks here have already cleared that hurdle. All you have to do now is enforce what was passed. It is beyond me how McGlumphy Funeral Home, which is a mansion compared to what I'm addressing tonight, got torn down before this house did. Now, folks, I'm gonna tell you something. I've lived here for 51 years. And I'm not lecturing you. I'm upset. I think somebody is passing the ball around, and it's your responsibility to find out why that is not bumped up after 4 years being condemned, after 10 years being a violation of code. I want to know why that's happening. So I'm putting it on record now for you to find out and to get back with me and tell me why. Now, if I sound upset, I am. I think there could be a discrimination here. Now, you all know now, and especially it's on record, I'm sorry to lecture you, but it is on record now. And I'd like a copy of that record sent to me of what I just said. And I know you're going to be electing a new city manager. I want that a priority. I don't know why. This is a beautiful city. This is one of the chief assets in your city. Why are you letting it sit like that? Can anyone answer me that question?
Well, we'll direct the interim city manager to immediately get with code enforcement, get you an update of the status, where we're at, and what we plan to do. So the city interim city manager will get back with you as soon as possible.
Can we get a definite date on that? I don't mean to be disrespectful to you.
Well, he'll have to check with code enforcement and see what the status is, and have them pull the file and look at it. And he will definitely get back with you soon.
I've got your contact information. I'll get back with you.
All right.
You can rest assured.
Thank you very much. Sorry to lecture, but I was a professor and that's what I did.
Thank you. Got your phone right up there.
James Palumbo, 217 Buchanan Avenue, wishes to address council concerning new city manager.
Good evening, council members, mayor, vice mayor. I know most of you voted for all of you. I'm a little disappointed in a lot of the rumors going around in the city about the person that is supposed to be qualified and maybe, I don't know, to be our city manager. We have some good applications in from what I understand, and we have some people that are a lot more qualified as far as experience, education, and all those things. And with our last council, as I stood up here, it cost our city hundreds of thousands of dollars because of a friendship. That contract was signed that should never have been signed. And unfortunately, the city was sued and the contract had to be bought out. And I think the citizens deserve more than this. I think taxpayers deserve more. And I don't want this to happen again. I don't want somebody's friend that's not qualified to be our city manager. I want you to be responsible enough and elect someone or select someone that has the qualifications that you all set to be the city manager, you know, to move the city forward. You've done some wonderful things. You've hired a wonderful chief of police. We've got our police force built back up again, which is wonderful news. You know, you've done a lot of good things with the city. I'm proud of all of you, but please don't disappoint the citizens and put someone in there that may not be as qualified as somebody else. You know, and I ask you, you know, Einstein said something a quote that is so, to me, applicable in this instance. He said, you know, the definition of insanity is to continue to do the same thing and expect different circumstances. And so I'm just asking you, as a citizen, to please do the right thing. Not friendship, not, you know, well, you know, he's this or he's that or whatever. Do the right thing and hire the most qualified person. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Jane.
Brandon Sirens?
Siren.
109 Thompson Street. Also about a condemned house.
I'm here with an issue of condemned houses in like my direct vicinity that they've been let go for years. We're condemning more houses and not resolving the ones that are already condemned. I mean, I've heard rumor that we're dismantling the program to take those houses down on city budget. I don't know if that's true, but that's what I've heard. My main issue is that crime rate has really rose within my local area. On the 25th, we had a major issue come up, which has resulted in a lot of things and has left me and my family to feel as if we're unsafe in this community. And after being here for 5 years and almost paying my house off, we have seriously thought about moving out of Clarksburg because of these issues. I mean, I'm not sure how far in depth of a federal investigation that I should go, considering that this is broadcasted. But the issues are getting real. I mean, I'm not sure what to ask you all to do to help me, but we've called numerous times to code enforcement to see if these houses are going to get tore down. They come out and do asbestos testing numerous times, but have never torn them down. You know, the chief of police, while yeah, I'll say that he has definitely tried to help the issues in my local vicinity by putting extra patrols out to be able to help secure the neighborhood. Those patrols will only go down Monticello Avenue. They only go up Thompson. Our back streets is the ones that have the major issues. That's where all the condemned houses are. It's where all the backpackers go. It's where the 4 drug houses have been busted. You know, the 2 shootings that have happened, all of this in the last year.
Tell me your address again.
109 Thompson Street.
Is that a dead end?
No, I live on the corner of Thompson and Monticello. There is a dead end behind me that's Denham.
Okay.
From the way I understand it, we live in the historical Denham house that named that road. I'm not exactly sure that that's true either. But
We'll have the interim city manager research, get with code enforcement, look up the properties and what's been going on, and get back with you. If you could give him a telephone number.
it's on the paper.
It's on the sheet.
Oh, you got it? Okay.
When you do get a hold of code enforcement, I would ask the thing that you express is that police force was on hand. Actually went over and talked to code enforcement about boarding up some of the holes that's left open,
Sure.
which was a result of some of the crime. Code enforcement came out and said that they could not be boarded up, though that they could. It didn't force the owner of the property to do so. Even though we had Detective Sergeant Swagger, Mark from Chief, and a couple of people from Task, all on the same page that they needed to be boarded up because it was becoming an issue.
Will the interim city manager get with Public Works and code enforcement and see what we can do? Okay.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.
Michael Brown, 1324 Adams Avenue, wishes to address council concerning a city manager.
Good evening, council. It's been a while since I've been up here, but as most of you know, a lot of you know, I've been kind of busy. So, but I did feel for my daughter's sake, that my 3-week-old daughter now, that I should be here. Clarksburg is at a crossing point where we need true leadership in our city manager's position. We need leadership where we also need out-of-the-box ideas, a youthful exuberance that we're going to take on, that we're going to reinvent this town to where it's not the place that people are scurrying away from. It's a town that where people are urging to get to. And just in my experience of where I've been working out of town now, I still hear that the slang terms of what they call Clarksburg. You hear the Methburg, you hear this, you hear that, and you don't want to do business in Clarksburg because they either feel like if you're not a part of the good old boys club, it's not worth being here. that's where, the leadership of a city manager would come in, that we need, that can, stand up and is going to stand up for everybody in the town. Now, I'm not aware of candidates that are in the line. That's not where I'm at. I really need to see that youthful exuberance. And I know I've made mentions of candidates that are rock stars in some other cities in the state that would be great candidates. And I tried hard to get some of them to actually make that application, but they were reluctant because the unfortunate kind of is the stigma that comes with being with Clarksburg. And that's why I'm here tonight, that I want you guys to use your due diligence. You are our representatives, and I need you to use your due diligence to find that candidate that is going to push Clarksburg in that right direction. Like I said, where we're not in that situation where people are trying to run away from Clarksburg. They're wanting to come here, and that we can say, I'm proud to be from Clarksburg. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
Congratulations, Michael.
Brad Morris, 1020 Oral Lake Road, wishes to address council concerning city manager desires.
Glad to be back. It's been a little while since I've been up here. I will say I've always addressed that you guys have made progress for all the things that have gone on, and COVID probably cut back some of that, which is out of your control. So I'd like to see how much further we get. Hopefully it tumbles forward. The city manager thing, I don't get to pick. You guys get to pick. I'm just here to say what I would prefer, what I would desire as a citizen, because I've dealt with the last two on various things, and I have my own viewpoint. The qualifications, I don't even know what that means, because people can cherry pick what it means to be qualified. But what I will say is that some of the things I would like it to be someone from outside of town. I would prefer that if it were up to me. Just because you do get in like my family name, I'm here, I have a business here, but nobody knows my family. Like there's all these like weird intertwisted things that somehow I've managed to stay away from my entire life. Basically, people kind of know me, but there isn't this weird thing of connected to this family, connected to that. And we have that here, and it's always been bizarre to me. But it'd be nice to avoid even the look of that. That would be sweet if we could do that. I would also like someone that has exhibited experience in actually growing something. I know you own a business, and like that's a different thing, but either growing a small business or a small city and showing progression, because it's a lot different. We need growth, I think, more than anything else. And there's a lot of opportunity here. One reason I come and talk here is I don't think it is wasted. I do think we suffer from apathy, mostly from the citizens more than anything else. And the one thing that there is opportunity here, I wouldn't keep talking because I don't like to waste my time. But there's a lot of space downtown. We have things to offer that other cities do not have to offer. And so I would like someone that saw those opportunities and could convert them and has experience converting them. Some of the other previous city managers, I think they had strengths in other areas, but I don't know that that was exactly one of them. I'd also like someone that actually would listen first and actually hear what you're saying before they thought they knew what you were saying. That has been a unfun experience for me in dealing with the city at times. That actually lets you get out your entire argument. This council, everybody I've talked to has been very good about that for the most part, but it'd be nice to sit down when you're explaining an issue to someone for them to actually absorb it before they said something. A city manager that has that quality. But that being said, I'm not a utopian, so I understand that you guys have to deal with the people that apply. You're going to have to deal with the best of what's out there. But I hate the term forward thinking because that can mean anything. But someone that has experience, like I said, particularly with growing businesses, interworking with businesses, figuring out how to pull the citizenry out of apathy. In my opinion, that's through relationships and actually talking to people and getting feet on the ground. But that's very difficult to do if you're one person out of many. I still got 3 minutes, so I'm going to take a moment. That's all I had to say about that. I hope you guys do a great job. I hope it works out great. The one thing I will say is as far as the demolition thing, that's always been near. That's what I've always talked about. I know you put out on Facebook a thing about it getting, I still think it's one of the best programs the city has done, the bang for the buck. I think that you can't, the problem with it is I know it costs a lot. You can't measure the impact it has on the communities around it. So if I tear down a house and it costs the city $30,000, $40,000, you see that in the budget. You don't see the $10,000 it added to 10 other houses. So you spend 40 to gain back 100. That's the way I look at it. I don't sit down with the papers like you guys do and sort through that stuff. And I know there's a lot of liability and losses that we had that were unfortunate. But I mean, like he talked about tearing down the old funeral home. I mean, that made a massive impact on that area. And the fact that we were backlogged before, imagine if the city had not put the effort in. We would have that backlog plus all the other ones. It'd be insane what we would be looking at now. And like, there are always going to be more, but housing in this area is an issue. And I mean, I know that like the back of my hand because I actually do develop the properties and I risk everything I have. And I've done fairly well with the ones I have done in the city. So if any of you guys know the work I've done, I think I've done things I can be proud of, and I'm still interested in doing that. So I'm going to keep developing them, but if you can get a few down and a few developed, and it starts to make a big difference. But mostly, honestly, what I want from a city manager is someone that just lets you move forward as long as you're doing it within code and doesn't create a barricade. I actually have never come in the city and asked for anything. I've mostly been asked to be left alone, but that's a whole different thing. Anyways, thank you guys. Appreciate
Thank you,
y'all.
Brad.
LaDonna Lathan, 1515 North 14th Street, wishes to address council concerning upcoming projects for youth in our area. Diverse selections of the Rose Garden Theater.
Yes. Council members, I'm just, I don't have any gripes or complaints. I think you're all doing a very good job. I am concerned just about the youth in our area because I hear, and see that there's a lot of crime going on in these different neighborhoods. And it's because our youth don't have too much, to do. We have a lot of fast food and banks and, you see them hanging out on the streets and sidewalks and, and you're wondering is there anything that we could do to help them, not be there? So I'm just, wondering, are there any upcoming events for these kids? Can we get some type of facility? We have the YMCA, it's not accessible to a lot of them. And we just need something a little bit more diverse for these youth to do because that's what's stemming the problem of what's going on here in our area. And that's basically what I came for.
Well, thank you.
Chris Lane, 317 Buchanan Avenue.
How's everybody doing this evening?
Good.
I want to share something with you guys. It's a letter that my spouse wrote to a Harrison County judge several months after a man here in Clarksburg broke into a home. I would like to thank Councilman Malcolm. He says at the end of pretty much every meeting, see something, say something. There's a lot of people here saying things. Heard this gentleman right here talk about Quality Hill. The most disappointing thing I heard from his statement is that he's been saying this for 6 years and he feels that he's been unheard. That's disappointing in general to all citizens, not just to this gentleman right here. I've heard a lot of talks this evening about a city manager. For the majority of y'all's terms in office, at least for the ones that's been in term the longest, you guys have presided over 5 city managers during your term.
Can I ask a question? Sure. Can anybody say why we've had 5 city managers?
We've had 2 managers, 3 interims. believe in order was, drawing a blank.
Harry Falk.
Nope, Martin Howe. Martin Howe, Miss Wright was interim after Martin. Harry Falk was manager after that's interim. Mark Kitty was interim after Harry, and then currently Steve Police is interim. It's 5 city managers that you presided over. I think the people here has a fair concern to get a city manager, one that can lead the city. But it's also concerning if we have council leadership that can actually procure a manager, and if any qualified manager would want to come and serve under a council that's presided over so many and that can't seem to get basic communication back to its citizens. We'll apologize, Steve. I understand you just started the interim manager here recently, and you got a lot on your plate. And I truly believe that you'll sincerely get back to this gentleman, just as you've gotten back with me on several things. But it would be comforting as a citizen, as someone making the request, if the person in the city manager spot can put a timeline on it. I'll get back to you within a week, within 2 weeks, within a month. So we can be respectful of your time, but also know that there's a date in the future where we'll get a response.
He'll get a phone call.
Exactly. So you
He'll
can be
get a phone
respectful.
call tomorrow.
And that would be great. I'm sure Mr. Owen would appreciate that. Some of you guys probably had time to read the letter. Give you a backstory in that letter. You guys talked about great strides in the police department here and why you cannot control crime and the actions of a criminal. What happened to us a few years ago is a gentleman broke into our home, went through our home while we was home, while we was sleeping. This happened in the early hours of the morning. This gentleman entered my 3-year-old daughter's bedroom and was in there for a few minutes before he exited, came down the hall and entered our bedroom, where my spouse awoke to meet him staring him right in the eye. I immediately awoke and ran the man out of my house. Now, we've got cameras not only outside of our home, but inside as well. That's how we knew he was in my daughter's bedroom for a few minutes. And that's how I was able to verify it took me in my bedroom till I was out after his ass. Now, I'll commend and discourage the city police in 2 things. I'll commend them by they caught the gentleman before he could leave our neighborhood. But I was extremely upset that they knew, yet left out their report, that not only was home, but that children was present, and that the man entered our daughter's bedroom when they presented their report to the magistrate. Now, I cannot tell you how many sleepless nights my spouse had once that man got released because his bail was set lower than what should have been for the crime that he committed. I've seen a lot of things, I've said a lot of things, and this council ignores a lot of things and kicks the can down the road. It's a
Chris,
lot of our frustration.
can you wrap it up, bud?
Yeah. It's discouraging to a lot of citizens. And on top of that, I've got a business, not interested in my building in town, but interested in another building on Main Street, ready to make $1 million investment in the downtown city of Clarksburg. I've given them an option for a building at my Sun Valley development. They've got a tentative lease with the building owner here. They're fully funded, and we're waiting to hear back if the city can accommodate them on 3 tasks: a separate water meter, a B&O tax break, and access to 4 parking spaces on Main Street. It's $1 million investment.
Thank
And
you,
the
Chris.
city has not even been able to respond after 5 weeks since the meeting we had with the city.
We'll have the interim get with you as soon as he can.
Tommy Lopez, 307 Spring Avenue.
Lots of good stuff. So I'm here tonight because I want to revisit some of the issues that I have been here repeatedly to discuss with council over the last couple of years. First and foremost, the issue with the storm drain separation through our neighborhood. And as we're all aware, we've been here multiple times, many of my neighbors, and some of them are here this evening and have already spoken, but you all are aware of the situation now. I'm not going to bore everyone with it. So what I'll ask of each council member in your closing comments this evening, I want you to specifically address your knowledge and understanding of the project and what's going on, your understanding of whether you acknowledge that the original blueprints for the project were not the as-completed project blueprints, and what specific information you have on remedying the situation based upon all the information that I know that you're aware of, including residents not being allowed to attend open city meetings that included yesterday. Okay, you all are aware of all that. Okay, so I'm going to ask each of you to address everything
Can I address that, Mr.
at the end in your
I'll take care of it.
opportunity when you speak at the end. The next thing that I would like for each of you to address in your closing comments, I've been here over and over and over again speaking about the need for involvement with our school system. Okay, and we're blessed this evening tonight to have the president of the Harrison County Board of Education in attendance, Mr. Gary Hamlin, is here. And I'm very, very happy to have him here because partnership with our Board of Education is a prime way that we have to fix all these other problems that we're hearing our citizenry speak about. Community schools are at the core of what we need. And I have been here for years and years and years and asking for council members to participate and go to school board meetings, come to forums that are involving the potential erection of schools in our city and where they're going to be located over and over and over again. I've been here. Okay, so during your closing comments, since we do have the president of the Board of Education here this evening, I would like for each council member to express what your feelings are on the school system and the new building potential here in the city of Clarksburg, and what your feelings are on how we need to continue partnering with the Board of Education, because we haven't been doing that as a group. Nobody's fault, it's been a long time, but the communities in our county that get schools have partnership with the Board of Education, the other cities. Okay, that's straightforward. Additionally, I will offer my opinion on the subject of a city manager. You all are all working hard, individually and collectively, and this council is under a time of great stress. I don't think it's fair to anybody here to have to pick a city manager right now. We don't know who's going to be on council in 4 months. We don't know who's filing to run in the next 3 weeks. So I think it's incumbent upon council to take a breath. Let's see who files, and whoever wins in 4 months, then you guys pick. What we did the last time was just call a spade a spade. Everybody run, pick them once we know, and the new seat, we can get new candidates who will see that we have now our 4 people, however many, 3 new people that are elected. And so that body will be here moving forward. So, I think it's a lot of stress and pressure for council to be under, to have to make that decision now. That's a lot. I feel sorry for all of you. I really do. And so I think that it's fair to let the new council that's going to get elected vote for who and pick and move forward with the new plan. Whoever it is, God bless. Don't care. Whoever runs and wins, pick who you want. But I think that would, potentially be some food for thought. So thank you.
Thanks, Tom.
Unfinished, city manager's report and update.
City Manager's Report, February 16th, 2023. From the Manager's Office, the City of Clarksburg was the host for the recent Mayor's Association meeting held on February the 8th. Thank you to our City Clerk and Public Works for showcasing our facility here at City Hall. from the Economic Development. We would like to recap the week with, on 2/15, the West Virginia Entrepreneurs Meeting. On February 16th, Swing the Sledgehammer, Hilton Garden Inn, and the CDBG Sidewalk Meeting number 2. From our police department, 4 new police officers are in their 3rd week of training at the West Virginia State Police Academy. Background investigations are continuing for new applicants for the police department. And the police department would also like to warn motorists to please be aware of icy spots on roadways early in the mornings while traveling. From our city parks, Splash Zone, an online meeting will be held on March the 1st to discuss water slide improvements. Applications are being accepted and interviews scheduled for new staff. Salem University will be constructing a storage building at Frank Loria Field in the near future at no cost to the board. Maintenance on mowers, trimmers, and tractors has been completed at City Park and is in progress on Veterans Park. Wastewater treatment plant. The DEP will be on site Thursday, February 23rd for our annual lab audit, and while on site, they will complete a final walkthrough for the plant for the Phase 4 upgrade. Plans for the Phase 5 upgrade have been submitted for funding. From the fire department would like to welcome probationary firefighter Jonathan Curry. Firefighter Curry was appointed on February 1st to replace Lieutenant Jeff Rogers, who retired in January after 26 years of service. Firefighters are continuing with their EMR classes and should complete them sometime during the 1st week of March. From the Robinson Grand Performing Arts, to celebrate Black History Month, the Robinson Grand showcased the movie Black Panther. The musical Cross That River is taking place this evening for the public and tomorrow morning for local schools. Forever Tina, a Tina Turner tribute, will take place on February the 25th. Several new events are in the pipeline and will be released over the next few weeks. Event information and tickets are available at tickets.therobinsongrand.com. From Code Enforcement issued 29 building permits for a total job cost of $790,000, $687.41. 14 NOVs, 0 citations, 4 condemnation orders, 19 inspections, 32 animal control complaints, 8 property checks to clear vagrants. Patrol areas checked resulting in 13 entry letters, 6 vehicles tagged, and 7 yellow tags on doors. For our finance department, B&O tax revenues were $648,798.62. Police citations, $3,238. Building permit fees, $10,134. Board ups, $400. Vacant property registrations, $1,000. Fire service fees, $175,685.39. Payment agreements was $555. Demo payments, $5,923.97. New business license issued were 5. From Public Works, demos on 532 and 535 South Chestnut Street were completed. Litter pickup along Emily Drive and cutting the brush back. Boarded up 2 notice of violation houses. Painted yellow in Northview, Broadway, and Monticello Avenue areas, and installed 600 feet of pipe, 15 sewer calls being private, and installed a new pump at the Armory lift station. That concludes my report.
Unfinished business. Consideration of second and final reading and public hearing of an ordinance of the City of Clarksburg amending sections 5, 25, and 38 of the city charter. Notices regarding the public hearing appeared in the Exponent Telegram on February 7th and February 14th.
I will open the public hearing. Anyone wanting to speak for or against this ordinance may do so at this time. With no one wanting to speak, I'll close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved in second. Discussion? Any discussion? No? I would just like to say, I talked about this the last meeting. Our city voters went out and voted for a charter change. They wanted the election taken out of City Hall. We had so many mistakes when I ran and wanted to coincide with the county to get a larger participation of people. If it was in the May, whenever we were voting for the county and state election, they thought that would put more people voting. We had 10,000 registered voters. I think we had 1,700 people vote, which is terrible. And with that, we had several mistakes. A guy had to win by drawing a ball out of the hat. So, I mean, we need some changes on that. We need to make it go over across the county. That's what the voters voted for, and I don't understand how this board could change what the voters voted for, but apparently they're going to. But I had received a letter from a constituent, and I want to read that as part of the record. Dear Mayor Marino, I, along with the biggest percentage of voters, voted for the charter amendments in 2021 election. I think it is unfair, not right for council to vote and change charter amendments Section 5, 25, and 38 of the charter. I've voted to be able to vote in the May election with the county. Please make this letter a part of the record. So I will have that letter to be part of the record. And I guess we'll move on from no further discussion. We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
No.
No.
Will Hyman.
Aye.
Gary Keith.
Aye.
Jim Malpajo.
Aye.
Jerry Riffle.
Aye.
Wayne Worth.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Junkins.
No.
Mayor Marino.
No.
Motion carries. Consideration of second and final reading and public hearing of an ordinance regarding charter amendments and elections. Notices appeared as previously stated.
I will now open the public hearing. Anyone wanting to speak for or against this ordinance may do so at this time. Chris?
Yeah. I can agree with something you just said there, Mr. Mayor, on the charter amendment. The voters did vote to vote with the county. I think it's more convenient for the voters. We're already there voting with the county. I think it's something that was appreciated by the majority of the voters, is why it's got the majority vote. It'll encourage more voter turnout. The county does have a better voting system than here at the city. I think it was a very good, positive move for the city. I think where the underlying issue lies with it, and why I agree with changing the charter amendment, is ultimately, yourself, Vice Mayor, and Councilman Keith was part of a council that put the amendment for a vote to voters that ultimately extended your own term. And per the Secretary of State and the Constitution of West Virginia, and I understand at the last meeting you stated that Clarksburg had its own constitution, but above Clarksburg, I uphold West Virginia's constitution, and above West Virginia, I uphold America's constitution. And those constitutions say it's unethical for a sitting politician to propose any action that would extend their current term in office. And I don't believe it was presented to the voters that was extending the current term of your all's office. I think it was presented that it would be a more convenient way to vote. And I agree with that. I think every voter that voted for it would agree with that. But I don't know a constitutional abiding American that would agree and think that it's ethical for a politician to propose an amendment to extend their own term in office. And especially when the city water board's council brought the concern that that very action, an unethical action that could lead to legal litigation against the city, and whether or not your extended terms are valid, put the water bonds at risk for what I heard last meeting, $90+ million water project to fix and replace the lead lines within the city and for the city's population. I would like to note that the last meeting, I think Councilman Keith showed great character by noting that while at the time he felt he was doing the right thing by putting the amendment up to vote to make it more convenient for the voters. He also stated that he recognized that fighting that is not worth justifying losing the bonds needed for the $90+ million water projects that's going to remove lead piping within our city that's constantly piping water to our families and to our children that could contain lead, that could pose serious health risks. He stated the fight is not worth the potential risk of casualties, risk of life, risk of quality of life to the citizens of Clarksburg. And it is disappointing to see that there could not have been a unanimous vote for this change, because I don't believe changing this is truly changing the will of the voters. I believe it's keeping the process ethical. I believe it's preserving the bonds for the water project to improve the quality of water to the citizens and the families within this city. And personally, it's disappointing to see a politician put politics over the welfare of the citizens. And I believe by voting against it, that's exactly what has happened here.
Thank you, Chris.
Discussion.
Do I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
Been moved in second. Discussion?
I'd like to speak.
Okay.
Well, someone who is so schooled in, what they're doing and all of the different things that are occurring, you didn't read when you voted? You didn't read what you were voting for? There was no secret. There was nothing underhanded that was going on. Because if that were the case, then why would we have put term limits on the ballot? We wanted to extend our term, and we put term limits on the ballot to keep people from sitting in these positions for 20+ years like they have. That was on the ballot. Referendum and recall was on the ballot so that you all had the power to remove crooks that sat in these seats. So if I'm trying to advance myself with an extra year, that's laughable. That extra year does not affect me one way or the other, okay? I'm not sitting up here for an extra year and that making a difference any way to me. So if that's unethical and crooked, then the voters, 70% of them, agreed that that needed to be done because what was occurring was ridiculous. So I in no way supported that or wanted that for my own advancement. So let's put that on the record. And if you didn't read that clearly when you voted, 70% of the voters, they voted for that. Be informed when you vote. Me opposing this is because 70% of the voters voted for it in this city because what was on that charter needed to be done. And whether I get the extra year or not, I could care less. I don't want the extra year because this, frankly, has been ridiculous what we've had to go through to try to make changes in this city that have needed change for years because of the crooks and the criminals. And I'm not one of them.
I'd like to say something on this issue. This board didn't write the charter up. We have an attorney that we pay money to do that for us. If there was a mistake, it wasn't because we're crooked and tried to trick the voters. The attorney wrote up the charter changes that the citizens voted on. And again, I'm for the citizens. That's what I sit up here for. The extra year that I get, I'll go out and run. I'll win an extra year, Chris. That won't be any problem. I'll run and I'll win. I'm not concerned about running again. I'm just concerned about the voters not being able to vote and us uphold it. These 7 people shouldn't vote for the 10,000 registered voters out there in the city, we shouldn't be able to say, oh, we're changing. That charter's been in there since 1950. And like Lily said, we put things in there for the citizens. We're wanting to extend our term a year, but we said there's term limits. That's a pretty good point. We put term limits. We put referendum and recall. If we do a crooked thing up here, although you can't get prosecuted for it, the citizens can prosecute us, and that's why we're held accountable by the citizens. That's what we're up here for. So by in no way, I'm voting because of the citizens, not to be a crook and extend my term. I can guarantee you that. But we'll go.
I don't believe the council in 2019 was doing that to get an extra year. I don't believe that. However, the truth of the matter is we can't get in the way of the water project. If we did a vote again to the public when it came to the water line pipes, I think it would be way over 70%. It's unfortunate. I don't want to be dealing with this. I'd rather be working on other things. But this is what we have to address. We have to fix the water line, and we cannot risk that at all. There is no reason to risk that. That's why Councilman Keith has said what he said. He was a part of that council. He didn't do it to try to extend his term. But when we're not in line with state constitution, that puts our bonds at risk, and we cannot risk that.
Well, I want to respond too, a little extra, that in that order from the Secretary of State, it said the people who were elected in 2019 and also the people in 2021 were in violation, but only the people in 2019 have to do the 1 year term. The 2021 people don't have to do that.
You voted against that.
Huh?
You voted against that.
Yeah, I voted against everything about it because I was
you
against
voted
it.
against.
I was against everything.
You voted
Jerry.
against the motion about the 21 candidates to be a part of this. You
Yes,
voted
because
against that.
I voted against it because the citizens, anything that had
You're not-
to do
you're not
with the
understanding what I'm
change.
saying.
Can we do a point of order? Can we just speak on the measure, please?
Yes,
Get this
go
over
ahead.
with.
Who-
Could I say something too?
Yes.
Oh, this is hard. It's a hard job up here, guys. I got to tell you. I agree with about 99.9% of what the mayor and Lily said. And I am 100% on board with these charter amendments, and I think we did absolutely the right thing with them. And I hate going against the voters, and I don't like my own vote here, honestly, because I don't think we should be changing. However, I had a call from our attorney today telling me that the ethics board reached out, and they have made a decision that we did an unethical thing when we extended our terms, and they offered us a deal. If me and I think it was just the mayor, I don't know why they didn't offer it to Lily too, but they offered us pay $1,000 and admit you were wrong for doing this, and we'll drop the whole thing. Now I'm not going to do that because I feel like we were right at the time. But that's just the cherry on top of the ethics board, the Secretary of State saying we violated state constitution, the bond council saying that the water board's not going to be able to get their money if we don't change this. I'm a pretty big ego person. Sometimes it gets me in trouble. I like to get mad and fight with people and go back at people too much sometimes. But at some point, you have to look at this and just say, okay, we screwed up. All right, this wasn't done correctly. And I think this is the way to fix it. It's not that big a deal. Just like the mayor said, he can run for another year, and I'm 100% confident he'll win. Lily probably will too. I probably won't be here again. I don't think I want to do this again, to be quite truthful with you. I just had a new baby, and this has been way more work than I ever imagined it would be, to be quite truthful with you. And I just think we have to do what's right for the water board and for all those 70% of voters and the other 30% that didn't vote for it. The lead water is more important than us sitting up here another year. It really is. And it just has to be fixed. And I still don't think we did anything wrong. I will not be paying the ethics board $1,000. I hope somebody from there is watching this. I still think I was right, even though I'm voting different here. This is all about the water project. That's really all I got. Thank you.
No, the discussion is
okay.
up here. We had a vote and a second.
Well, I guess I'm.
Oh, you
into
discussing?
my 2 bits. And,
Okay.
you know, Chris, your comments, I do believe what we're doing tonight keeps the intent of the charter amendments on track. It does. It absolutely does. So unfortunately, and I'll say it like I did last time, we make mistakes up here. Sometimes it's not my mistake or his mistake or her mistake, but ultimately we have to fix them when it's our turn to fix them. When the problem arises, you got to do it. It's called personal responsibility, right? I mean, that's what we do. That's what you have to do up here, and that's why we're doing it. So we can continue.
Thank you.
I think the only other thing I want to say to it is the reason that I'm so steadfast against it is because our attorney that we pay, that advises us, told us he wrote it and he could defend it. He wants to defend it. I mean, why would I not go with what our advising attorney tells us? That's what he tells us. I wrote this thing. I can defend this thing. Now, for the water board issue, I don't want to hold that back. But in 4 years, who's to say we're not going to be in the same position? And then we have the same thing going on. But whatever. I mean, 1 extra year, that's fine. We'll do what we have to do.
Okay.
But just out of principle.
Thank you. We had, you want to speak, Jim?
I would like to say something. I agree with Will. This is the biggest project in the state of West Virginia, people. It's $96 million. And if we did not secure those bonds for the water board, the last person out turned the light out because this town would have been done. So I'm just, $96 million, the biggest project in the state of West Virginia. I mean, we made a mistake. We have to clean it up. And as far as that goes, I don't want the additional year when it comes up in 2 years. It doesn't make a difference to me. The water board and the people of Clarksburg make the difference. Thank you.
And I'll say one last thing. The why I did again was because of the voters, and there's a relief for the water board, and they know it. They have attorneys. All they simply have to do is go across the street and file an injunction and change it. I want an authority figure, not just an opinion letter, to come down and say you did wrong. Have some teeth to it and make us do what's right. And that's all I wanted to do. You go across the street and they could have that injunction and shut us down immediately. So that was my only thing. If we did wrong, and I'm not saying we didn't, I'm like Lily, we're relying on attorneys. I'm not an attorney. That's what they made the charter changes out. We trying to do the good things. And maybe when you do good things, something bad comes out of it. But my intent, I'm all for the water board and their project, absolutely. But I know my vote doesn't really matter on this, but I'm not going to just make it perfect and we're going to vote 7-0. I'm not going to do that. But anyway, we'll move on. We had a first and second. All in favor?
Aye.
No.
Will Hyman.
Aye.
Gary Keith.
Aye.
Jim Malpajo.
Aye.
Jerry Ripple.
Aye.
Wayne Worth.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Junkins.
No.
Mayor Marino.
No.
Motion passes. New business, consideration of a resolution to submit a grant application funding request in the amount of $500,000 to West Virginia Department of Economic Development, Community Advancement, and Development Division for fiscal year 2022 Community Development Block Grant funding for West Main Street sidewalk repairs.
Entertain a motion.
So moved.
So moved. Moved and second.
I'd like to discuss something here. I think this is a great point because I saw the invite for this meeting today on Facebook, thanks to our social media team and crew. And, I attended the meeting and I was the only person in attendance. The only person in attendance for this discussion, for this public hearing. So, there's other things that happen in the city that are just as important that happens in this chamber. So, maybe I'll see you guys next time at the next public hearing. So thanks.
Thank you. That's a good point. Okay, we had a first and a second discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Ayes have it.
Consideration of a resolution of the City of Clarksburg, West Virginia for agreement with Central Holdings LLC regarding sidewalk reimbursement.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Oh,
I was gonna say.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I was gonna thank,
Discussion?
the city attorney and
Okay,
Mr.
I'm sorry.
Cleese for putting this resolution together. I think it goes a long way for, transparency, and, I appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
We had all ayes. It passes.
Consideration petition filed by Stockmeyer Urethanes USA Inc. requesting the abandonment of Progress Way located in the Business and Technology Park.
We got a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we pass this on to P and Z for further consideration.
Second. Motion and second? We got a second?
Jimmy said.
Okay, motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Ayes have it.
Consideration the use of $500,000 of the ARP funds for Phase 5 of the Sanitary Board's long-term control plan.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved in second. All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Ayes have it. We're going to skip on this one. We're going to go to council comments, and I'll start over here with Councilman Riffle.
Uh-oh.
Jimmy first.
Point of order.
Got a bad leg.
I wasn't going to say anything tonight, but it seemed like everybody that came and spoke tonight kind of really puts us in perspective where we're at as a city, how far we need to go, and how resting on thinking that we've already accomplished something is ridiculous. We have so much to fix, but we spend so much time wasting on things that shouldn't be wasting our time. We should be worrying about the youth, trying to find things to do that. We should be finding ways to help businesses come into town. We should be helping Mr. Ferris fix that issue. I came to that house. I told you I would look into it as well. I put my time into it, and I apologize for not following up on that. There's a new thing in the state called a zombie law. We try to push for that. There was the bank. It ended up the bank was not on board helping us, and there was issue there. But we still dropped the ball, and I don't even know where the ball ended up. It rolled down the hill, and I didn't go looking after it, and nobody else did, and I apologize for that. Yeah. Oh, I mean, yes. Yes. Yes, and I apologize to you the other day. But we get stuck in these other things that we should not be worrying about when other people have other real issues.
That's why we need a good, experienced city manager.
Yes, I agree. And there has been a lot of discussion about, city manager and, hiring the right person. I have an 8-year-old son that I'm going to be raising in this city. I'm not going anywhere. I have as much at risk of this next city manager to hiring as anybody else. Maybe even more if they don't have a kid younger they're going to raise in this city. There's been plenty of nights I've been up, trying to, can't sleep, trying to figure this out. I've taken it very seriously. It's become a very drama-filled thing, and for no reason. I don't know why it ended there, but that was a goal for certain people, and it was always going to be a very serious decision by us. And if whatever we decided to go as a council, it wasn't going to be taken lightly. But there was other things said, and they're just trying to think that we don't take our job seriously. I spend way too much time on doing things for council. And I'm not trying to applaud myself. I need to do less, but we need to get out of our own way and quit talking about things that aren't important. It's not getting in the way of the water line issues. That's not there's just no reason for that. We made a mistake. Let's fix it. Let's move on. Let's get back to worrying about the youth and other things that we kind of signed up to do. We have plenty of issues to fix. Tonight, we were all on display. I should have done a lot more since I've been on council, and I think everybody else, we can do a lot more as a whole. But we can keep arguing and wasting our times, or we can get back to work. I know I'm going to. I hope the rest of the council's on board with that. Thank you.
Councilman Worth?
Yeah, I appreciate everyone coming out tonight, and that comes to show that, things are not perfect in Clarksburg. And if we say that they are, then we're pretty much lying to ourselves. There are a lot of opportunities we have in our city, but there are also a lot of challenges. Condemned structures, tremendous challenge. I remember back in 2019, we couldn't even arrest vagrants that were going in condemned structures. You just give them a ticket and tell them to move on. And we pushed for a law that was passed through the legislature that made it an arrestable offense. And that helped, but it wasn't a silver bullet. It doesn't solve the problem. You know, at the end of the day, if there are properties that are condemned and they're beyond, beyond repairable, they need to be demolished. And I can assure you this, that, future work sessions that we have, we're going to be talking about that, talking about, how the demolition list is prioritized. We have to talk about that in an open meeting, during a work session to do that. Now, does that solve your problem immediately? Probably doesn't.
Is there a policy set in place on how you determine what's going to be demolished and what's not? I mean, 10 years is a long time.
It is.
4 years is a long time after it's been condemned. And it seems to me that somebody's not following procedure here.
That house was put on condemned list July 13th. It's been
Sorry?
that house has been on the condemned list since July 13th. It's been 2 years.
Yes.
So
Somebody needs to condemn that house. I live next door to it. My furniture on my porch is stolen because it's an empty house of vagrants. I can't even go out and sit on my front porch. I don't mean to lecture you people.
Right.
But I'm sick and tired of it. I have done everything since I have bought a home in this house in 1970 to make it a better place for this city. And now I'm asking the city to do something for me. If you think that's selfish, I'm sorry.
It will be.
It's not.
your duty.
Something will be done. You have spoken and we have listened, and I can guarantee you that that's my priority, that this interim city manager will get on that and do whatever is necessary to make that happen. That's a promise.
Can you tell me the thinking behind why Northeast was torn down before this structure?
I can't answer that. I don't do that.
I can ask.
We have a city engineer and we have a public works director along with the city a manager who they put a list together and they decide on that, how that happened. That one that had to fall through the cracks. But all I can say, I can't. What happened 10 years ago? From this point forward, you come once he.
Can I attend that meeting when they're deciding?
I don't think so. I mean, it would be amongst staff members. So you've heard, you've been heard.
But I'm telling you.
I promise you that I'll make that promise. That I might only be on here another 4 or 5 months, whatever. But I'll make sure that we have something that will be put on the priority. That will be on a list. That when we put that out for demo, that you'll know when this will happen. I think we have some coming up, but Steve will definitely get a hold of you, and it's a priority. Okay.
7 months ago, you promised my neighbors you'd look into the flooding in our neighborhood after a project the city.
And we did. And we did. And we did.
It's there. Let's point of order. We're going to continue on. Point of order. Point of order. Point of order. I'm done. Wayne, finish out.
I apologize, but to you, sir, yes. I will put that on a future work session agenda, and that's a public meeting, and I'll ask that question. Where's that property on the list and why? We got budget sessions coming up, but condemned structures are probably one of our biggest problems, and some of our biggest hurdles is finding the funding to demolish those structures.
Can I just say one more thing? Why would you take one of the prime assets of this city, Quality Hill, which is in the National Historic Register? It brings in tourists. It brings in people photographing. It's the one big positive thing that I see, and people will knock on my door and ask me, why is this house in this condition and these others are not? This is an asset to you. Why are you throwing it away?
I don't really think I'm throwing it away.
Thank you, sir. We have to continue on with the meeting, and the discussion with our citizens is over at this point, Wayne. We'll just continue on with the discussion.
Okay. Anyhow, back to my comments. Yes, condemned structures are very important, and it's something that we need to address. We're even talking a little bit about a land reuse agency. which will allow the city to purchase properties first at tax sale. We don't have a land bank or a land reuse agency yet, but future work sessions, we're going to be discussing that too. That could give opportunities for the cities to take these properties, or either demo them, or possibly have a developer demo them and be able to purchase those properties and demo them and rebuild them for good revitalization. So that's one technique that we can do. Moving on, I know Mr. Lopez talked about the schools. Yes, I would love to have a school in the within the, I guess you used to say, the natural boundaries of Clarksburg. I think we all would, but at the end of the day, I believe that's up to the Board of Education. A lot of that has to do with funding and funding formulas and mechanisms, and whether I advocate for something like that, but I think at the end of the day, that's a decision that the Board of Education makes. And to the Spring Street, yes, I remember we had discussions about that, and I apologize that maybe I haven't looked into it further, because I'm not an engineer, but that's something that I think maybe we should follow up and talk about, possibly at a work session, put that on an agenda, just to talk about, to discuss those matters and to see where we're at, because our staff are the people who work that every day. So, other than that, I mean, with the charter amendments, I support, us falling in line with the West Virginia Constitution. We need to do that. That's number one. I do like the fact that we're investing ARPA funds in infrastructure finally. So that's a good thing. The $500,000 and to the sanitary board for their long-term control plan. And I think if I didn't cover everything, I apologize, but I think I've talked enough. So
thank you, Councilman Keith.
Well, thanks for everybody showing up tonight and coming to speak. The house on East Main, I don't know if you know, but I used to live at Elm and Carr, down at the bottom of the hill. And me and my neighbor Hayden actually had pretty much taken ownership of that house and were personally securing it when people were breaking into it all the time. So I feel especially bad that I've kind of forgotten about it after I moved, because that one, along with another duplex on Carr, they were constant problems at that time when I lived there. And I've just been gone a couple years, 2-3 years. But I do promise you that we'll make sure we figure out what we're going to do with this demolition thing. And I've spoke out in public a lot about the demolition program. And Brad, your comments are appreciated, and I understand. But man, not only is it terribly expensive, but it's just a complete mess. When you ask the question, can you come to the meeting? What's the procedure? Good luck. Nobody knows. The only thing I know 100% for sure is something has to be on the condemned list a minimum of 2 years before it can move. Now, that doesn't mean at 2 years it moves. I don't know who makes that decision. We put it up to code enforcement and the engineer and whoever else, but I do agree with you. I feel like we need to overhaul the whole process, because it's not only that house. I mean, we got this one that somebody posted on Facebook today on the hill back here. You can see Washington Square. I can't remember exactly what street it is. I think it's 3rd, maybe. Second, okay. So we had a big mess there a couple months ago, actually. And I got with Public Works and the city manager and got him to go over there and clean it up, because people took terrible pictures of the front of it. And then Jerry went over there actually and took some pictures of the back of the house. And the back is just the most ridiculous thing you've ever seen. The trash and crap in the yard and holes in the roof. And You know, I feel guilty about that one too, because I feel like I took action on that one.
Brand new windows.
Yeah.
Brand new windows.
Yeah, I feel like I took action on that one, but I just drove by and like, oh, we fixed that. Good job. You know, pat myself on the back. So then Jerry goes back and takes pictures of the back of the house. It's like, well, that wasn't a very good job after all. So our follow through is definitely leaving something to be desired. I'm going to agree with you on that. So I think in our short time left here on council now, that should be one of our goals of everybody up here is that demolition program. And we need to dig into that and figure out how it exactly works. And it needs to be a more transparent process. And as much as some people aren't going to like to hear it, we need lots of other solutions other than tearing things down. It's just too expensive. And I understand there's a long-term payoff, but if you just don't have the money, there's no way to get to that long-term payoff. You know, it's just, we're not making money here. Unfortunately, we don't have that power that the federal government has. We can't turn the presses on. So moving on, pretty much already talked about the charter amendments. I'm not going to get back into that. But just real quick on the city manager thing, I'm really disappointed on how this whole thing turned out. Despite, I think, what some of you have been told, we do not have a real quality group of applicants. We have maybe one other one that's decent. But mostly, I'm telling you right now, I don't think there's definitely not two that the whole council could agree on. There may be one. And if we're going to follow the ad to a T, she also is not qualified on how the ad was written. So I'm kind of going down the road of Mr. Lopez now. I feel like this was all handled very unprofessionally. You know, when you're hiring for a job and you don't get the quality applicants that you were expecting, I think this board has every right to start looking at other avenues and start going back through the stack applications and thinking, what can we do? And the person that we had lined up, he's now backed out, if anyone's interested, just because of all the drama and not being worth it. He decided it wasn't a good idea, and he didn't want to be questioned also. But I think it's really sad that that much information can be leaked and things that we're supposed to do in executive session, and people have jobs, and, you know, people are applying for a job, and I don't think people expect that kind of spotlight to be on them when they apply for a job, and I think it was very unprofessional. And
we should know, because it's our money. Yes, we should know.
So you think we should just like give you all the resumes and let you decide?
Keep
I could do that.
keep talking, Gary. You gotta make your comments.
And I don't mean to be rude. I'm just saying that's not how it works. I'm sorry you feel that way, but we don't take all the applicants and then publish the list and tell everybody who we're considering. That's not how it works. I don't know how you would do that. I mean, this sounds great, but people have jobs. If people can't apply for a job, and
Well, down after you lower it, you know, put it down to a minimum, not the entire.
okay, you know, now that we've made this agreement, I'm sticking to the ad. We definitely will not hire anybody that doesn't have a college degree in public administration. But I can tell you, of the ones that we have at the top right now, there isn't one. So that's why I said I'm going to agree with Mr. Lopez now, and I think we just push this forward, and the next council can decide.
Okay.
Thank you. That's all I got.
Councilman Malfajo.
Thank you. Folks, if you see something, say something. You got to pick up the phone and dial 911. I mean, nothing's going to get done if you wait till tomorrow to call. And you know, it's, I mean, I think our response time with the city police department has improved immensely over the few years. I think Mark Kitty's doing an excellent job, and his staff is doing a great job. You just have to pick up the phone and dial 911. How do I want to say this? To answer Mr. Lopez, do I think there's a problem on Spring Avenue? I am not a public engineer. I am not, public works. I mean, I used to work with the shovel, but I wasn't the one making the calls. Looking at the photographs that Mr. Hyman took today over there, it amazes me of how you can have a catch basin 2-3 feet from a curb. So, I think this all falls back on the contractor. Now, the specs, according to what we got to see, which is, like I said, we're not city engineers and we don't know. That's not what we're here for. It looks like it appears to be a problem, and it absolutely will be addressed. I think there's something coming up here next week, a meeting or something. It's going to be looked into. As far as, do I think we need a school downtown? Absolutely. Clarksburg City School, I think it would be wonderful. Where do we put it? Who finances it? That falls on the Board of Education. We would love to help dump a couple $1 million in it. Folks, we don't have it. We're up to our eyeballs in debt ourselves. So, but yes, I do agree that I think that, WI Middle School is antiquated. I mean, it served its purpose over the years. And so now it's time to do something, and hopefully Board of Education will follow up on it, and grant writers can find money for us. Other than that, thank you for coming tonight. Everybody have a nice weekend. See you next time.
Thank you, Councilman.
Yes.
Councilman Hyman.
Thanks, Mayor. Well, packed house. I like to see it. I've been attending meetings for much longer than I've been on council. Since before 2019, I was a regular visitor up here, and I've seen the high points and the low points where I was the only person in here. And then there would be nights like this where you had to stand in the back. And a lot of those meetings were just like tonight's meeting, a little spicy. But that's what happens up here. But, to address everything that I appreciate everybody coming out. Let's start there. Obviously we have a lot of problems. And I think I said it on the campaign trail in 2021 that, I don't know if Clarksburg has seen the bottom yet. So, when I say that, I'm sincere about that. So, we're trying to do the right thing up here. We are. But when you look at everything that's happening, whether it's globally, whether it's nationally, whether it's regionally, whether it's happening here or across I-79, I think we know that there's some serious stuff going on everywhere, and we're not immune to it. And, when things happen up here, like we've been happening in the last couple of weeks, these meetings, it makes it difficult. So, that being said, I'd like to see some stuff happen for the youth too. I know Jerry's put together the Youth Sports Council. I'd like to see kids active and doing stuff. When it comes to schools, I know Mr. Lopez has invited me, discussed it with me. We went to the school board candidate up at the Brookside, the meet and greet that I had up there. I know you posted the question up there about having a school. Again, like Mr. Malfredo said, I don't know what Clarksburg can do for that. I'd love to sit down at the table and talk about it with all the players involved. Where can we put it? I have a feeling that we'll probably lose Northview Elementary in that process. It would have to be combined into some other school. But I'm not the expert on that. I'm not. But, I'm willing to sit down and discuss it with whoever wants to talk about it. I think hopefully most of you guys know me. I like to talk about anything, whatever. Let's talk about it. In public meetings too. Chris, I understand you got some issues with that. Looking back at the emails, I kind of think it would be a little unfair to throw it on Thrasher to have a group of people who are a little upset about what's going on in Spring Avenue. And I was at home today, and it started pouring and rain down. I mean, probably the biggest rain we've had all year, in our short year that we've had so far. So I drove over there, and I took some videos of it. I'm happy to show you. I saw the water going down the drain. Yeah, Upper Spring Avenue above St. Clair looked pretty bad, and it was coming around on St. Clair through that storm drain. I'm not quite sure I'm sure Johnny Workman or other people in the city can take a look at that. But, as far as the drains go, I agree. It doesn't appear that it should be that far off the street. Again, I'm not an engineer, just like I'm not on the school board and I'm not a teacher and I'm not, just, I'm up here trying to do the right thing for the city. And I'm sure we will talk about it here soon, and it will probably, hopefully, be in a public forum, and we can air our grievances and talk about it and move forward and try to come to a solution. I know you've heard it a lot, and I know everybody in here has heard we're going to find a solution. But that's the city government, and that's unfortunately we get stuck in the mud. We lose a tire. That's what happens, and unfortunately sometimes it's our own doing. I'm not gonna lie about that either. We certainly have our issues, just like I said. So, Tommy, I'd be happy to show you the video I took today. It was pouring the rain down. I mean, Mark showed up while I was out there. I think he had the same idea as me. We want to go look at it. We want to see what's going on.
I have months of videos.
I understand. The charter amendment. I went to the polls, just like everybody else. Hopefully, everybody else did. I know we didn't have we had a paltry turnout, but I went to the polls. I supported every single one of those charter amendments. And as the time went on, and I was shown the facts by the water board attorneys, and we were hearing issues internally from the city clerk about how we were supposed to handle it, and all the attorneys got involved. I looked at what the available information I had, and that's how I came to my decision. I don't like it. I supported the charter amendments. I'll be absolutely honest. I supported every single one of them. So to go back on that, it's a little disappointing. It is. So I believe we're maintaining the intent of the charter amendment. The elections will be moved. They're going to be on even years. They're going to coincide with the May primary. There'll be term limits. There'll be a direct election of the mayor. And we'll move forward. We're just going to have one election. Just one. This year for a one-year term. I hate it. I think it's stupid. I think it's probably it's obviously the only solution we have. So, and because I don't agree with what the mayor said about fighting it in court, because we'll probably be there for months. And then what happens if we come back wrong? They're gonna force you guys to step down right in the middle of your term? I'm just trying to pose that question. That's how I see it. And I don't want that to happen, because that'd be an embarrassment more than it already has been. Let's see. Again, I made this comment earlier. We had a public hearing today for for $500,000 investment for our city sidewalks. It was announced on Facebook. It was publicly posted, and I was the only one in attendance. I was the only one there. Just bear with me, just 1 minute. I can talk to you afterwards too. It'd be very, very brief. I'm sorry, because I don't want to get off track. My mind likes to wander. There was some discussion about the city manager, and I agree with Gary. The fact that we've packed the chambers here about what may happen, what could happen, no formal offer was made. And here we are. We're stomping our fists, stomping our feet, pounding our fists, and I get it. That's I don't like it either. So I've prepared some contracts for the remaining applicants, and I hope we can go talk about them in the back room civilly. I hope we can.
Absolutely.
and I hope we can move forward, because I don't like the idea of sitting on it and waiting. This is 10 months going into this. 3 times around. And we've had great applicants every time. And here we are at a point where we're settling. We're settling, and I'm not going to say mediocrity. I'm not going to say that. However, we've had plenty attempts to find somebody that met the requirements, or even better, and we haven't done that. And I'll take responsibility for that, because that's what we do up here. That's what we do.
Thank you.
So, I hope we can all go talk about it in the back. And if not, if that won't happen, then I guess we'll push it off another week or 2 or 10 months. Why not? Let's sit on it for 10 more months. Let's do the right thing. I hope you guys have a great weekend. And we'll be back here in March. Thank you.
Thank you, Will. Vice Mayor?
First of all, I want to say thank you. I deeply appreciate everyone coming out tonight, and I don't feel like that this is drama. This is accountability.
Amen.
When people voted us in, they wanted change. They wanted it to be different than it has been. The same old, placing our friends in jobs they're not qualified for. And you all deserve to know. You deserve to know. And they can claim who leaked, whatever. You're going to find out because it's important. It's important. And you all should have a say. And you should know when they're trying to do the types of things that they tried to do. You should know. And I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're here holding people accountable because that's what needs to happen. And when we were elected to stop these kind of shenanigans from happening. And hopefully they're hearing you. It's not okay. Come out every time. Hold them accountable. Hold me accountable. I have no problem with that. So thank you for being here. I appreciate it. Keep speaking. And we do have qualified, very qualified candidates. They don't meet the specific ad requirement. They exceed it. They exceed it. They have MBAs, law degrees. Y'all don't want that though, do you?
Yeah. Yes, we do.
Okay.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I have just a couple things to say. It's kind of ironic, somebody saying it was leaked. Could you get on Gary's social media and see all the things he said about
Something from an executive session? That's different. Just to make that clear.
But I mean,
Executive
it's
session is
been
not
out
the same
there
as
on
talking
social
about
media
issues.
since forever. But with this, and just part truth, he said there wasn't one qualified applicant, and I'll go along with that. That's part truth. There was two. Unless he doesn't know what an MBA is, that's a master's in business. It's a business degree on steroids. But that doesn't meet our qualifications? I mean, seriously? We had not one, but two. So when he says not one, he's being part truthful. There were two MBAs. MBAs, that's Master of Business. I mean, are we kidding? Not any qualified? But anyway, you could say what you want. This is what matters. You got to hold, Lily's saying it's accountability. You got to hold us accountable. We could go in the back room and do all we want, but we got to come out here and it's got to be presented to everybody. So you can't hide and get away with what you want to. At some point in time, you got to come and expose yourself. And that's what we're talking about. Again, when Lily and I ran, we went to the houses. We didn't tell them what we wanted. We listened to what they wanted. And they said, change. We want change from the top. I'm not going to beat my drums, but in 2019, this city was ready to go down the toilet. It was in bad shape with the police department, the code enforcement, the drug issues, the needle exchange, and so on and so forth. I could keep going on and on. These young guys get on here. We've cleaned up a lot of that. Do we got a lot more to go? Absolutely. But what was it like in 2019? It was a mess. It was a complete mess. So I could be proud sitting up here, even if they say we're not doing anything. The last years since these new ones got on, we've struggled. I mean, it's definitely been a struggle. But my first 2 years on here with Lily, we accomplished goals. We set standards and we accomplished them. And the citizen can see that. All you have to do is drive around this city. The ones who weren't here in 2019 and that time, they wouldn't know what we're talking about. But the citizens that were here knew this town was in a mess. So we have done things. We have a lot more to do. But I want to be truthful when we say things. We can't go in the back room and do just anything we want, even if it's not up to the standards. We had a charter. You pick and choose what you want. We did an advertisement. That was a legal ad that we put out there to find people. and that ad said a bachelor's degree, a college degree, black and white. Can we change that? Why would we change it? Why would we lower that standard in 2023 and not require a college degree for our chief executive officer, our city manager? And we're not going to require a college degree. We have the pothole guy, the public works guy has to have an associate's degree. The director of personnel has to have a bachelor's degree. But yet we're going to let our city manager come in with high school, maybe a GED. Can we even hire a high school dropout? I'm not saying education is everything. Absolutely not. I had an uncle that had an 8th grade education. The smartest guy I knew could do weld fabric, could do anything. So I'm not saying education is the key, but what is the key is don't get out of the good old boy system. My friend, as somebody said, he's my friend. He's my friend. So are we hiring friends? Is that what we want here in the city? We want to hire friends? I don't think so. I don't care. I've got a lot of friends that I could say, let's put them in. That's not what we're here to do, hire friends.
That's what we had before.
That's why we were in the shape we were in 2019. Friends were running our city, and that's what got us into this condition. So I'm going to keep fighting. I'm not going to let this discourage me. I'm going to keep going in the back room, and I want to do what Will says and get along. And why it took 3 months, I'll tell you why. We had a standard here, and we didn't want to settle. And that's what we were going to do, is settle. But we didn't want to do that. That's why we did 3 times. 3rd time's a charm. We got quality applicants here, and I will not wait 10 months and wait 4 months and let this do camp. No, we need to get somebody on board ASAP, and hopefully we could go in the back room and not cry about things. Let's go back there and get a solution and work together. This is great. This is the best meeting we've had since we got in here, because people are coming and they're speaking up. They're not going to sit in the back and let this board do whatever they want to. They're going to answer to you.
We don't want another council that was like in another city, like 2019, when you guys came in. We don't want it again.
Well, we're promising to stay on.
So what I'm saying, you did your advertisement and with the internet?
Yeah.
Everybody don't use the internet?
We did it in a bunch of different places.
I never seen it. I don't read the newspaper because people stop by.
Well, we advertise it in several places. But we have to move on here. We have to have one more item on
Mr. Mayor, pursuant to Chapter 6, Article 9A, Section 4 of the West Virginia Code, I move the council adjourn to executive session, discuss personal matters, and the following persons be present: the mayor, members of the Clarksburg City Council, and the city attorney.
Thank you.
Need a second?
Got a second? Got a second? All in favor?
Discussion.
Discussion?
I don't think we should go to executive session. I won't be voting for any more executive sessions.
We're going into the executive session. We got 1, 2,
Let's take a
any
vote.
more discussion?
Yeah, I got a discussion with that. I mean, since it seems like when we go back in executive session and we discuss these applicants and it becomes on social media for some weird reason, and I'm getting calls with people naming names, I'm at the position that I'm going to vote against going into executive session because, if at the end of the day, if what's being discussed in executive session is going to leak out to the public, it might as well be public. And from this point on, I'm going to ask my city attorney. From this point on, I'm going to ask my city attorney before we go into any executive session whether it's needed to go into executive session.
Personnel, because we can't discuss the names of the people who applied.
Thank you very much.
Have I been on social media discussing names? Huh, Clerk? Have you seen me on social media? You're laughing like you know. Huh? Is it funny?
No, it's not funny at all. It's
Exactly.
very
It's not.
destructive.
Very.
Don't be a bully.
Well, okay, let's go. We had a first and a second. All in favor? Aye. Those opposed?
No.
Will Hyman? Gary Keith?
No.
Jim Malfager?
No, and I want to say the reason it's too heated for us to go back there tonight. It's too heated because we're not going to get anything accomplished.
I appreciate it. Like I said, I prepared some documents to look over for the remaining applicants. And, if you guys don't want to talk about it, I guess we'll just keep kicking the can down the road because that was my point. So if you don't want to, then don't.
Well, I don't think tonight's the night to talk about it.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Keep going.
Jerry Riffle,
Nope.
Wayne Worth,
No.
Vice Mayor Jenkins,
Yes.
Mayor Marino.
Yes.
Those win.
Knows when. Well, we'll just,
So let's discuss the remaining applicants.
no, we're not doing that. You said we can, is that, you said we can?
Say that I would advise against it.
Huh?
I would advise against it.
He advised against it, Gary.
Mr. Keith did point out, you do have people who have other jobs. and
Absolutely.
That would be my concern.
That's the only reason, believe me. Otherwise, I'd rather it be done out here.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
This is what you're getting, guys. Pay attention.
We have.
Let's kick it down the road.
Yeah, we don't want to hire a
Point
good
of order.
qualified one. That
Kick it down the road.
Huh?
Point of order, call a question.
Oh, aren't you guys so formal?
You've been studying up on Robert's rules, haven't
Someone's
you?
got to. Someone's got to.
Good
Yeah,
job.
you're classic.
Okay,
On the meeting.
we adjourning,
Got a vote.
Yeah.
We got a
Yeah.
first and a second. We gotta have a call to question.
Second. I'm happy to
We
adjourn.
already got that.
we'll adjourn. We'll call it.
We got a vote.
no,
Got a
for the
vote.
record.
Huh?
I'm voting no on adjournment, for the record.
For the record, I'm voting no.
I'll change mine now.
Will Hyman,
No.
Gary Keith,
No.
Jim Malfado. What'd you say?
To adjourn?
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Jerry Riffle,
Yes.
Wayne Worth,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Jenkins.
No.
Mayor Marino.
No.
Let's just sit here.
So we go to adjournment, we go to votes, what is it? Clerk?
Well,
Can we discuss our next applicant not using names, Richard?
No,
No.
Richard. We're not.
No, Richard.
Did we vote to adjourn? Is all I want to know.
That's what it sounded like to me.
Huh?
That's what it
We
sounded like
voted
to
to
me.
No,
adjourn.
it failed.
it
failed.
failed.
Pay attention.
No. You forfeited not to adjourn.
So we gotta sit here.
We sit here.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't hear Gary's vote. I apologize.
Since y'all are not doing anything yet.
So we're not adjourning. I make a motion to go in executive session.
Second.
Can we vote on the same thing?
Can we vote on the same thing, Richard?
I think now's the time to remove these things. Make a motion. Remove these panels here on this side. Give this extra rubber.
My knee hurts.
I'll let you go.
Well, we can't make a motion to go in executive session, I take it, because that was already done. I mean, to adjourn, right?
Make a motion
So
to
we-
reconsider.
Does anyone have a tent?
Make a motion to reconsider to adjourn.
I second that.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Point of order. Can the chair make a motion?
He doesn't know.
Well, let somebody else then, Gary.
Okay, I make a motion to reconsider to adjourn this meeting.
Second. I could second, can
Call the question.
I? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We're adjourned, right?
Don't make no difference.
That's why you get
You gave it to me.
started.
Thank you.